Good evening, everyone. It's Anita Manan from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I am thinking of a vasana that I have been reflecting on and contemplating today, and I thought I would share it with you. It's not one in terms of a term that I had ever heard of before, but I think most people will understand this thinking. And of course, I'd like to clarify in this video for you to reflect on it yourself. And this vasana, again, tendency, is called a Viparita Vasana. Viparita Vasana. And this is a mind that sees things backwards or upside down. It's got high suspicion, doubting of honest goodness, argumentative, challenges others' thoughts rather than encouraging them, and haughtiness in communication. Whew. Wow. Now, do you know anyone like that? I think we see it all the time. We can see it in news programs. We can see it on the street when people are communicating with each other, sometimes on road rage or during road rage. And honestly, a lot of people are like this in general as a personality that they have taken on or uh, certainly behave like, and for various reasons. So, without even thinking about all of the reasons that can bring someone to that sort of space, we know that we can see it in others, and very important to see within ourselves, because the true learning is when we're learning about ourselves. And I came across this beautiful uh, quotation by Plato, and I'm sure most of you know Plato, but this I had never heard before, and I just loved it because it really represents what I believe this vasana is trying to explain too. So Plato says, many men are loved by their enemies and hated by their friends, and are the friends of their enemies and the enemies of their friends. Isn't this interesting? Now let's break that apart just a little bit. Many men are loved by their enemies. Now imagine someone is an enemy, and a lot of people will look at the person that is the enemy and say, wow, they're really smart. They really know how to do this. They really get away with everything. And I can't believe they did that to me. And I'm so going to be sharper than them. I'll say something before they say something, or I will do something before they can do something to me. So there's this vengefulness that can come into that space. Yet it's from this admiration for what the enemy's doing. And a lot of people will do this. Now, when we say loved by their enemies and hated by their friends, doesn't that sound unusual? Yet, let's put friends and family into the same category. Now, how many siblings have grown up having some jealousy of their sibling? Oh, this was the favorite sibling, and I hated that. I hated that. I've heard so many clients talk about this and say this, and sometimes they'll use that word, and many times they will, and other times they'll use other words. It's just they were just so much. They were the favorite. They were the golden child. They were right, and we all know these sorts of experiences too. So these family members or friends, yet hated by friends, right? Hated by their friends. And they are the friends of their enemies, friends of their enemies. So, most people will know this idea of keep your enemies close, right? Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. So they're friends with their enemies for a purpose, and they're the enemies of their friends. So they're also the ones that could be gossiping about their friends. Their friend tells them something very heartfelt and personal and private, and they share it with someone. Or they're the enemies of their friends when they are thinking, yeah, I know this is my friend, but I don't really like this about them. And they're thinking it in their own mind. They just don't like something about their friend. They're my friend, but I'm only with them because we've known each other for this long, or anything like that. And so this is a very deep quotation from Plato, and I hope that it makes sense to you. Of course, I'll be writing it under this video. And we come back to this Vasana. This, again, this whole idea of seeing things backwards or upside down, this idea of doubting honest goodness, or someone does something kind. Now, we're looking at ourselves. Has someone done something kind for you, and automatically you think, I wonder what they want? I hear so many people talking this way, thinking this way, expressing this way. And let me not say I'm above that, because I would say in the earlier part of my life, that was definitely part of this mind's thinking. Today, I do not. When I see honest goodness, I just take it as honest goodness and I trust that that's what it is. If any sense of suspicion gets in the way, I am now much quicker about clearing that because really, if one is going to accept a kindness from another, let's accept it in its fullness and let's trust that it is coming from a full space. This high suspicion actually impedes a lot of people. So I wonder what they want from this, is often the comment that people are thinking in their minds. And I came across a couple of quotations about suspicion. And again, remember, this suspicion will often make people argumentative. So it's like, why? Why do you want this? What is it that you want that? No, I don't think that's right. But when people are talking like this, we hear this sort of communication a lot, don't we? I don't know if you are, but I'm certainly hearing it. And challenges others rather than encouraging. So, why exactly are you doing this? Really? Is that why? Is that really the reason? Do you ever have these sorts of conversations with even close friends where it's like, is that really the reason? Well, I know you like doing this. And you might know some truth about the friend. Challenging them rather than encouraging them is different, right? So questioning is fine. A question like, is that really the reason? And your tone will change when you're questioning be from a space of encouraging, as opposed to, yeah, I know you better than this. And I think I know you better than you know yourself. And you don't think about these things in the way that you're talking about. This is for some gain for you. All of those sorts of things. And again, that comes from suspicion. And this also creates a haughtiness in communication. It's just this not willing to communicate. A haughtiness is a roughness of communication. And there's a lot of that happening in our society. And I think even if you would sit at a coffee shop, you will hear this sort of communication around you. Sometimes it's for even someone ordering a coffee and it's like, I didn't want this milk, I get this milk. And, people have become very particular about their orders these days. And when they get something that's not quite right, oh, it's a pretty haughty response. Now, you go to a restaurant and maybe people are a little bit more polite in a family restaurant, maybe, not always. And then there might be a little bit more expectation in a very high scale restaurant. You know what I'm paying for this meal? This is what I'm paying, and this is what service I expect. And we hear this, we see this, and some people might be participating in this. Today's video is to try to remind you about this vasana and to reflect on yourself to see how are you communicating, what are the thoughts that are stemming from your mind, and why. And so suspicion is, I wanted to focus on that, and I have these quotes. The first one, it says, suspicion is far more apt to be wrong than right. Oftener unjust than just. It is no friend to virtue and always an enemy to happiness. That's deep too, right? So this is by Hosea Ballou. And again, this quotation, let me read it one more time. It says, suspicion is far more apt to be wrong than right, oftener unjust than just. It is no friend to virtue and always an enemy to happiness. And remember that suspicion is an enemy to happiness for oneself and others. Because if I am suspicious of you, I don't necessarily think well of you. And that suspicion goes through me first, which doesn't affect me well, and then it affects you. And this is an awareness if we are sensitive to energies and what kind of energies our thoughts carry. But those thoughts lead to words, lead to action. So recognizing that starts a whole cascade of events. And then the second quotation that I came across is this one. It says, suspicion is the greatest enemy of love, whether it is true or not. Oh, I think that's so true. Suspicion is the greatest enemy of love, whether it is true or not. So I hear these days a lot of people use that word love very freely, regularly, comfortably. And love has such a depth of meaning. And I don't mean necessarily romantic love, but it includes romantic love. It also includes the love of friendships, the love within family, this love. Now, suspicion is the greatest enemy to love, whether it's true or not. If I suspect that this person is doing this, either come out and say it in a loving way and rid yourself of the suspicion, or choose to just rid yourself of the suspicion, because it's not helping love. And if you're saying that you love someone, I love this person, but I have a feeling they're doing this. I love this person, but I'm pretty sure that they would do this if they could. All of those things, and we all do this, it's because we've seen habits and behaviors of people around us. And this is from self protection, that we can move into a space of suspicion and non trust. And this is the energy that is pervading our society today. Today, let's take our personal responsibility. And if you were suspicious yesterday, try to be not suspicious today. Today, if you have a suspicion that you know is based in some fact, have a conversation, a loving conversation, and recognize that you're getting yourself beyond this Vasana. Again, this Vasana is a tendency. This tendency of this human thought, this mind that goes into these directions, is one of the things that holds us back from self-realization. And I wish that for all of us. I wish you a fabulous night ahead, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great night, everyone.